Hello. Hi.
You look like a Disney princess today, Ms. Jessica Capshaw. It's giving Arizona Robbins vibes.
Like season 7, 8?
Every season. Wait, people don't know this about you. Every single time Jessica Capshaw came into our glam trailer before work, you would really do a lot of your own hair on the show, which is not the norm.
I did. I primarily did because the real reason I did was because, and we'll find a picture of it, but there was a particularly terrible hairdo that I was given season 5. And it bridged over from the last episode of season 5 to the first episode of season 6. Again, check my facts, people.
I know. I was like, here we go with Jessica's
But it was
memories.
like a down the middle part with like the 2 top pieces like shellacked straight back and like firmly secured with bobby pins. And then there was some like not cute beachy waves like pulled out, tousled, but more like ringlets, like
oh yeah,
some real ringlets.
We all have a ringlet season on the show.
I don't know why anyone lets that happen.
It was of the time. If you look back of the time, it's like all those shows are out. Everyone's having those very tight, like princess hairdos, not brushed out. You're keeping those curls in.
Oh, never
to the bottom.
Yeah. And then we started not curling the ends, which was key. That was what made it look like a really like
that was the beachy
wave.
Yes.
Beachy wave. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is that what started you forever doing your hair on the show? Because I feel like you kind of always did.
Well, yeah, I think I was definitely initially it was in response to a hairdo I fucking hated, and then it turned into I had a really long drive to work, so I would usually be in the car for like 45 minutes to an hour and a half if there was traffic, and I didn't want to go from sitting down to sitting down, so I would stand and I would always go to I would always go to hair first, and I would blow dry my hair, and then I would sit down and make up. Yeah,
I bit the bullet because I was on TikTok and I got convinced because TikTok makes you buy things. The Dyson Airwrap.
Oh, Lordy.
It's by the way, it's super expensive. So it's taken me time to like want to commit, right? That's a very expensive hair situation.
It's a piece of equipment.
But people really have trouble online doing it. So it's just sitting there right now. I've been a little bit intimidated to try the whole
You haven't unboxed
the wraps.
You haven't unboxed.
I haven't unboxed it. No. And there's so many pieces. It's like an Inspector Gadget of freaking,
hairstyling equipment.
But guess what I've been doing this week?
Tell me.
Okay, so I don't know that we mentioned this on the podcast, but my mother, Kate Capshaw, started her career as an actress. And we moved to New York City when I was a little girl, and she was a model first, and then she started acting. And she got her very first movie in New York City, directed by Bruce Paltrow. And he became one of her bestest friends in the whole world. But anyways, so she was doing a movie in New York City, and I was, 5 or 6. And I just remember it being like the most magical thing. Like the trailers would park along the streets and the trees, the way that they would bend over the side and people were walking along and, you're disrupting real life to create this alternative life. And my mom was just like young and beautiful. It was just she and I against the world. And I got hired as a extra in like a wedding scene. So I actually got to come to work with her one day. Anyways, I have these memories cemented in my mind of how ideal and wonderful it is to shoot a movie on the streets of New York City. And I've always moved towards that. I've always wanted that. Like every time a movie is in New York, I've always been like, oh, I hope I get it, or I hope this works out. And just so far, it just hasn't been my story. And I got a phone call saying, hey, would you like to come do this movie for a couple days in New York City? And I said, yeah, this is going to be like the completion of a dream that I've had. And it's been as good as I thought it would be. Walking around New York City and coming in and becoming this other character and getting all dressed up and all of it has been so much fun. And I have to say, it's been very inspiring to me because a lot of times you think of things and you think like they're never going to happen. I mean, I was like, what, 5 or 6? Like, what are the chances of me being able to become an actress and do a movie in New York City? And now here I am, movie in New York City.
I have a question because I feel like Here's what I'm always curious about, because they can't shut down all of like Fifth Avenue, right? So when you're shooting in a busy, busy city like that, and by the way, guys, on Grey's Anatomy, we shoot, if we're on location, there's barely anybody around. We really can sort of shut it down more in Los Angeles. We're in neighborhoods. It's not the same vibe as New York City, or we're on the hospital set where there is nobody else. So when you're walking down the street shooting in New York City, do you have random people just crossing in front of you or just staring at you that are ruining the shot? I've always wondered this. In like Sex and the City, when I'm watching, I'm like, how are they shooting any of these shows?
They close down the street that you're working on, or where like the space that you're working on. And then they like, it's like holding traffic. Like they hold people at the perimeter of the space that you're working in. And then, you know, when you're paused or done, then they like let people walk through. But I did notice that, you know how like normally on Grey's, if we're shooting and you hear, you know, a backup, a truck backing up, and you hear the beep beep, it's like sound immediately will be like hold for sound.
Yes.
In New York, we hold for no one. We hold for no one. We hold for fucking nothing. It can be a 5-alarm fire. There's ambulances, and it does not matter. So we were in a nail salon 2 days ago, and I seem like I'm like a crazy person because I'm in the middle of talking, and I'll be like, "Oh, we'll hold for the plane," and they're like, "Hold for the plane? Why would you hold for the plane? Plane's not coming down.
Los Angeles.
They're not landing. What are you talking about? Keep it going."
Oh my God, that would be hard for us. Yes,
I know.
We definitely film in a totally different way.
Us little delicate.
If someone coughs, it's over.
Oh,
you're like, you know what? You gotta take that whole. We gotta start the episode again
for sure.
That cough.
Yep. Go back. Don't do that. Yeah. But it's been great, and I've been Christopher is doing a whitewater raft trip with the big girls, and Luke has started his summer job, and Josie's been kind of hanging out, and so she came into the city yesterday. But I was by myself for like 3 nights, which I also was great because I got to start catching up on things to watch, and I was watching something, and I might have seen your husband.
Oh my gosh. I love that you said this. He is on a show called Presumed Innocent right now with Jake Gyllenhaal.
I didn't know. It surprised me. So I turned it on. Everyone's talking about Presumed Innocent, and I started watching it. I loved the movie. I completely forgot, well, no spoiler alert. It's a murder mystery type situation. And I started watching, but I completely forgot who did it. So did Matt do it? Don't tell me. Let me
just
don't tell me
it for everybody. You know what is so funny to me is that my husband is he's the sweetest. He's from the Midwest. He's such a sweet guy in real life. And he gets cast as bad guys all the time, or drug dealers. If you've seen him on 13 Reasons Why, he's absolutely disgusting. He's dealing drugs to some random kids. And then we both done a Lifetime movie early in our careers. I played Princess Kate Middleton. He played a guy that was a janitor pimping out all the high school girls. And so I think it was called Walking the Halls. He's literally a pimp for the underage. So that's the kind of resume he's knocking up. But this is I love that you mentioned it. It's a great show.
Okay, by the way, public opinion. Do you like when a show comes out like all of it at once? Like The Bear just came out and it came all out at once. Or do you like when they drop one every week?
I like it when they drop a couple every week. People are craving the Grey's Anatomy experience again, which our show still does. The 18 episodes, the 22 episodes. We have 25 episodes.
You mean once a week?
People are not getting that anymore. And I am reading all the time that consumers are back ready for not just it to be dropped in a week. You're kind of done with the show. It's 10 episodes, whatever it is. And then you have to wait a couple more years. We're all waiting for Stranger Things. People are waiting for Euphoria.
Yeah.
I had an equally as glamorous week as you.
Oh, really? What'd you do?
I'm very excited to talk about. So you were filming in New York City. And you were having that moment and you're out and bustling. I have mainly been on the couch. Yeah. I've been on the couch. I think I changed my clothes maybe 4 times in a 7-day period. My kids are in camp. And so I've been using that time during the day to literally just sit. We don't have to do we're not shooting Grey's Anatomy right now. We have downtime. I have 3 weeks until we're back. And I'm like, what do I want to watch? Do you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, who am I without my children and anybody home? I have been in binge watching heaven.
What are
I
you
know I
watching?
just said that
Tell
people
me
want,
everything.
they don't want all the episodes dropped at once, but when it's like a reality TV show or a documentary, I want it all.
Okay.
I do want it all.
Okay, so what are you watching?
Okay, so I have been loving my life watching Netflix. They're in the top 10 right now. There is a documentary series about DCC, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. And first off, I love a documentary about cheer. I don't know what it is. I think it's because I grew up in England and it was just like very like fantasy. You know, I grew up watching Bring It On and all those things.
Is cheerleading or cheer in general only American? Does this only happen in America?
Yes. This is not,
Yeah.
no, nobody no. It's American.
The origin story of cheer, but that's for another day. Go ahead.
Yes. So I got sucked into this documentary, and it follows the tryouts of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. It appears to be they're at like their last audition. You really find out it's not, but they're doing a dance audition. They've got, I don't know, I think they're down to like 70 girls, something like that. And then they do a cut, and then you think that a bunch of them have made the team, and then they're learning the famous song Thunderstruck that they all run out to on the field at the beginning of a Dallas Cowboys game. And then they cut more girls. They cut one girl because literally she was like too short, which is so wild to me. How did you not know that from the beginning? They're showing the girls training. They're showing their injuries as they go along, the heartbreak, the hard work, the dedication, their backstories, where they're from. They're part of a legendary team. Me from England, I knew about the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. I can't really honestly name another cheerleading team. I know that there are others, but I feel like that's a super famous one. But the documentary is definitely being talked about, and I want to talk about it on our show because there's a little controversy surrounding it.
Let's get to it.
Well, what was really shocking is that you watch them training and you're thinking like, oh my God, these girls, it's midnight. They've got to go home. I want them to rest because they're working so hard. They're incredibly talented. And they're waking up to do their other jobs. And you're wondering, why do you have to have another job?
Well, wait, are they on the team right now? Or are they still trying out?
So they're still trying out, but even when they make the team, all these girls have to have 2 jobs. Their one job, which is the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, which they seem to practice in the evenings more. One of the girls, for example, on the documentary, she is asked specifically what she makes, and she doesn't want to say exactly what she makes. She does have another job supporting herself, which is bonkers.
So these young women are coming out, they're auditioning, they're going through, how long is the tryout process?
The tryout process goes on for weeks because before they even get to where they get to at the beginning of the documentary, they've already gone through a few auditions. It appears to be about a 3-week process once you think they've made their team, and then they're even making cuts after that before they do their game, and then the first game, and then of course there's a whole season, a football season, right?
Who's the organization that runs it? Is it the Dallas Cowboys themselves? Like the management team of the football team is also running the cheerleading?
Well, Charlotte Jones is the Cowboys' chief brand officer and daughter of owner Jerry Jones, and she's in the documentary a lot, and I feel like she's the head of the head because she picks the coach.
So it's
right?
an official piece or arm of the Dallas Cowboys franchise.
Absolutely. And I want to read to everybody listening a little piece from the Huffington Post because they talked about a woman who started to cheer for the Cowboys in 2021 and was asked to remain anonymous, told the Huffington Post she was paid $12.50 per hour for practices and $400 for a game. In fact, originally she was paid $100 for appearances in her first year, and it increased by $100 every year. And cheerleaders only perform during home games, but each one requires a commitment of more than 12 hours. However, I think what is so shocking is that the Cowboys organization makes over $1 billion. Their football players are making millions, and the discrepancy is wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the reason why I asked who's managing it is because these things I feel like they always pretty much stink from the head down. So I guess why are the cheerleaders not valued?
Well, here's what I don't like about it. There are women in charge of this part of the organization that I think should be really rallying around these girls to get more money. But part of their reasoning is that it's a privilege to be on the team and it's a sisterhood. And
It's a job. You get paid for your job. It's not a fucking volunteer position. You get paid for your job.
Absolutely.
You're not showing up for your You're not showing up for your sisterhood in
definitely
this
taught
situation.
that they're replaceable, and just to put on the uniform is payment enough.
Well, let's call that's bullshit.
The Dallas Cowboy football players wearing Dallas Cowboy uniforms, and they don't just say to them, "It's a privilege to wear the uniform."
No, they do not. And I don't think that they would show up if that was the case. I don't think they would show up. Okay, so I'm seeing here that Charlotte Jones, who is she's the daughter of Jerry Jones, responds to this and says there's a lot of cynicism around pay for NFL cheerleaders, as it should be. They're not paid a lot, but the facts are they don't actually come here for the money. They come here for something that's actually bigger than that to them. They have a chance to feel like they are valued, they are special, and they are making a difference. When the women come here, they find their passion and they find their purpose.
This is so
That's
sexist.
insane.
It makes me want to vomit.
It's not a club.
It feels like it's been packaged together in a very disgusting little publicity bow, and nobody is afraid. Everyone's afraid to speak up.
No, I think that the way you show that someone is valued in the workplace is you pay them. And I think that I would be, I mean, I guess that would be my big question for the powers that be is like, I mean, I don't know. In the show me, don't tell me category of life, they're showing you that they don't value these cheerleaders. So, I mean, if I were those cheerleaders, I mean, I feel like you viva la resistance. I feel like that's a strike.
Well, and here's the thing. That is exactly what happened with the cheerleaders on the Buffalo Bills cheerleading squad. They were known as the Buffalo Jills. They sued for wage violations and poor working conditions in 2014, and the Bills just shut down the squad entirely.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm wondering.
So stories like that, it kind of feels like hand in your uniform, you're done. And by the way, do you want to be the one girl that says, hey, should we get paid more?
It's hard. It's hard to do that.
It's very hard to do that.
Have you ever been underpaid?
Oh, yeah. I mean, oh, for sure. I mean, even just my waitressing job back in the day, I think about how we were paid. We were basically told, like, you don't make any money hourly, and it's just going to be from your tips.
Yeah.
And so you could have a shift that was, I mean, by the way, in any job that I've had, you know, I feel like there are moments where you always feel like, is it time? And it's hard to speak out. What about you?
I think it's very, very hard to speak up. And I think that mostly it's hard to speak up because you're afraid you'll lose your job. And then if you don't lose your job, you're pretty sure that, I don't know, like nothing's going to happen. Like how's it going to change? And then you'll just find someone else to fill in for you.
And I think that's exactly what this is about. This is about them feeling all like they're
replaceable.
I'm having a hard time comparing the cheerleaders to the football players because of how like insane the disparity is, right? Like these multi-million-dollar contracts versus minimum wage. So do you like, that's the part that I want to get at with this management situation. Like, do they care if they lose their cheerleaders?
Oh, I think they absolutely would care if they lost their cheerleaders. I mean, they're talking about how some people come to the game for that, right? And they're part of the institution.
I don't love that the daughter of the owner that runs it said what she said.
No, she's kind of the worst, actually.
Yeah, I think she's pretty bad.
And you can quote me on that.
How bad
she's
she is?
Kind of the worst.
Yeah, no, I think it's even worse because of the language she uses. Because I mean, wow, even just throwing in there, it's about a sisterhood that they're able to form. Like, when has a guy ever been told that he was at work for the Brotherhood?
No. Oh my God, can you imagine?
To do that and say that and have that kind of fun. And I think it's fucking inspirational. I mean, may we all have people that we would show. I mean, by the way, I'm sorry. Let's talk about the real for a second. Do you think he was nervous? I think I would be shitting my pants. If I've got my tuxedo on, I'm standing off stage. Yeah. This is not my business. I now all of a sudden I'm on a fucking lift that's coming up out of nowhere and I'm going to go back down on it again. I got to get in the biggest star in the whole entire world. I'm lifting her up. I'm putting her down. There's people screaming. There's cameras everywhere.
Because by the way, like I literally, as he was walking, I mean, obviously it went well because I would have known. I saw it after the fact, but I was thinking to myself, God, please don't trip.
Oh my God.
Like if you trip and you drop Taylor Swift,
yeah,
it's over.
Completely.
No, of course you've got to be so nervous. And now I'm going to laugh because he does, he shows up to the shows a lot and he's going to, be in any show after this. People are going to know that music break that he showed up in. And they're going to be turning to the private tent and just eyeballing him if he leaves. Because if he stays, it's not happening. And if he
you
leaves,
think that it could be a repeat performance?
I mean, probably not. But if you're there, are you praying? Yes, I'm praying. Honestly, I'm praying for a proposal. I'm praying for an on stage. Would it be not romantic? Probably in front of everybody. Yeah, no, they should do that privately. For me, Camilla Luddington, I want to be there. I want to see I want to see the lights gleaming off this giant diamond ring for her.
We'll get
I want to cry with her. I want her to ask the whole audience to be her bridesmaids. I want to be part of it. Get the invite. The whole shebang.
The whole thing. Yeah. No, it was definitely, it was a good week in the news for that situation.
I know. People are like, how's your week going? I'm like, oh my God, it was really good. So Travis Kelce got up on stage with Taylor Swift and has like nothing to do with my family. It's more important, Matt. It's more important. I'm sorry.
Here's the thing that I thought was most radically awesome was that it wasn't just him supporting her. Like it felt like there was a mutual support. Like they looked like they were in their own world having fun for each other. Like they understood each other and they knew what would make the other one enjoy it even more. Like it looked like exactly like a relationship should. I don't know.
The royals were there.
Yeah.
And what I liked about it is did you see the video of Prince William doing a little
yes.
He was doing Shake It Off. He was fully shaking it off.
I love it. It was really,
I was
really
like,
cute.
Look, I have never in my life seen Prince William gyrating to anything.
Hey, I have a question. Do we have any fan questions today?
Absolutely, we do.
What?
Ryan Bond is about to join us via Zoom, and she says, I'm a mama to 2 kids under 5. I'm also a full-time paramedic. My fiance works from home. When he is mentally and physically exhausted after being with the kids all day, I try to validate his feelings. He always shames me and tells me, you're never alone with the kids for more than a few hours at a time, as if I'm not working an intense job to provide for our family. Is there any advice you can offer for working moms trying to balance work life as well as home life? This is a tough one. And by the way, this is right on our subject, Jess, of support in relationships, showing up and supporting.
Yep.
Okay, so we need to bring her in. We just read your question to our listeners.
Okay.
First off, congratulations on having 2 little ones.
Thank you.
And it sounds like you have a crazy job, and being a paramedic, I have so much respect for that job. So tell us a little more about what's going on. How long have you guys been together for?
5 years.
And then what is his frustration when you try to validate his feelings? What is his frustration with you?
He doesn't think that I understand the whole aspects of him being home with the kids, and I'm home with them for a few hours after I get home from work, and then they're in bed. I don't know why he gets so frustrated when I try and say that I feel him and I understand. I think he just doesn't think I get what he's going through.
Have you asked him what would feel good? I mean, if validating his feelings of being, exhausted doesn't feel good to him, what would feel good?
I mean, I've offered, I'll stay home, on sick time and take the kids. You go out, you go do your thing or take a nap, but he doesn't take naps and, he has work to do and it's exhausting.
Yeah. Having 2 kids under 5 is no joke. It's really a lot of work for for everybody. So where are you at with it now? I mean, is it
same place?
Does it mostly feel mad or sad?
For me or for him?
That's a great
you.
question, Jess. Yeah.
I think for him more mad.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I guess more sad.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them were already in a preschool during the day. And then does that take up a large chunk of the day that kind of relieves him a little bit? I mean, listen, I understand even when they're there at preschool for forever, it still feels like you're,
Yeah. So I leave the house before anybody else is up. So he takes them to preschool. They get dropped off at like 7. And then he picks them up at like 5:30 in the afternoon. So from 5:30 until like 7:30, unless I have a late call and don't get home until later, is what he has alone with them.
Here's the thing about guys. Sometimes I feel like the practical works with men a little bit more. So it's like, what do you need? Because I'm telling you, I understand how you're feeling and that's not helping you in any way. And I understand that sometimes even those 2 hours, by the way, I call them like the twilight hours because with kids, it can be really hard.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The dinner
it's the
and the
witching
bath
hours.
and the bedtime, and they're not easy hours, even though they're just 2 hours. I wonder if it's on Sundays, would it help if we together food prep a little bit for the kids and makes a bunch of burritos and shove it in the freezer? Would that help you? What is something practical we can do that will help you?
Life, partnership, marriage, it's like it's actually never, it's always going to need your attention with regards to how you communicate, right? Because it's never there's going to be easy stuff. There's going to be easy times. There's going to be hard times. But how you communicate is the only thing you can kind of control. So the way you speak to each other. And I think that it sounds to me like in your letter, whenever I see people say always and never, I'm like, oh, we're there. Right. Because we're at the point where we're like, it's always like this. It's never going to be okay. When we start using words like that, I think we almost on some level are already playing out where this conversation goes. Right. And it doesn't allow for there to be a fix. That doesn't allow there to be an opportunity to say like, what if we tried it this way? It's always the foregone conclusion. So I would say, first of all, like, how do you get back to rolling back the always and the nevers, right? Like, how do we make this so that there could be a different outcome? It sounds like you guys have gotten into a little bit of a recycling
pattern.
And
yes, because usually the conversations go the exact same way every time. So I've just come to the conclusion that that's how they're always going to go.
Yeah. So I think that it sounds like maybe you need to, or it could be an option to look at him and say in a quiet moment when maybe the kids are asleep, how do we hit the reset button? Like, can we hit the reset button? And whether it's by yourself and writing it down or me by myself or us just calmly talking about the practical things that we can do to lighten our load. But let's start with the basics. I love you and you and I were here first. So how do we keep this in the relationship?
I will say we go on vacation tomorrow. So hopefully.
Oh, yes. Well, great. Hit the reset button there. Oh my God, please hit the reset button. Hit the reset button, come back with strategy. It won't happen magically, but hit the reset button, come up with a plan and then work the plan. Because also your last question, it's like for working moms trying to balance work life and home life I'm sorry, it's my truth, but there's no balance. It's only compromise. On any given day, you're going to be a better mom or you're going to be a better person in the workplace, but it's never, you can't do both at the same time. But I have to say, looking at your face on the Zoom, I have great confidence in you. You look like someone who wants this to be better. And if you have the opportunity to go away, you do. You do. I can see it. So you now have an opportunity to go away and look, it's also hard to forget oh my gosh, that's your boyfriend. Remember that was your boyfriend before he was also the dad and everything else. So go and have some fun.
Yeah.
I also think, just before we go, I think that there's two things. I think that sometimes we want to say, like, I get it, that it's so hard. But I think sometimes it's helpful to say, I don't get it. You're right. I'm not with them as many hours as you. And this sounds, I'm hearing from you how tough it is. And I can't fully understand this experience. We love a Zoom.
Hear about the vacation.
Yes.
Yeah, I have no idea where we're going, so
Oh.
it's a surprise. Yeah, I
Oh
was
my
told
God,
to pack
so
a bag and get a
fun.
passport.
Oh, gee.
Oh, this is very
So
romantic.
this can I
Oh,
don't
this
know.
problem
We'll see.
solved. We're done. If you started with that, we would have logged off because this sounds amazing.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, good luck, Ryan, to you and your family.
Thank you so
We
much.
hope you get some relaxing time, both you and your husband
Thank
or
you.
fiance.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
for joining
you.
us.
Bye.
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 Morgan wrote us and she said, a year ago, I caught feelings for a coworker who is 12 years older than me. I told him my feelings in April and he said he wanted to take things slow. How do I know if things are moving just slow enough or if he's stringing me along? I have a couple things to say.
Well, I want to know their actual ages.
Well, I think
wish I
maybe
knew
the
more
most important
information.
part of the story is that they're having a workplace situation, which I think is very important for people to understand, is something that is very tricky. And likely, I mean, I don't know where they work, but likely there needs to be sort of a certain order of things. And I think you need to take out the variables of actually, like, I mean, if he's older, maybe he knows there are rules to this, maybe he does not know there are rules to this, but I think that ultimately this is not enough to go on. And I feel like Morgan needs to get curious and ask some more questions.
Yeah, I mean, the hard thing is like, there's a part of me that's just like, just fucking ask. Like, do you see a future or do you not? And I feel like girl instinct is like, we know. Sometimes we ignore the instinct, but we still know. And so I feel like if you straight up kind of like, you'll find out the answer. You'll be able to tell.
Yeah, there needs to be some questions. We need questions with follow-up questions.
Why don't you read Anna? Because Anna's reminding me of our Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce conversation.
Yep. Okay. Anna says, my ex would never post me on social media, ever. In the 8 years we were together, he would post everyone else but me and hide me like a secret. My new man posts me, flaunts me, and is proud to be with me and show me off. Is not posting your significant other a red flag? Yeah.
We just talked about this.
It's a big old red flag. It's a big one.
The grid. Here, I'm going to do like a little grid dance. This is the grid.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the red X emoji. It's this one.
If you're not on the grid,
you don't exist.
It's not happening. 8 years and you're not on the grid?
That actually almost seems criminal.
Yes. And you know what? After we talked about the grid, we got a lot of responses on social media saying, oh my God, I'm not on so-and-so's grid. What does that mean? Or, yes, I was never on the grid and it was a total red flag that I ignored. And now I realize it is a rule.
Yes, it's a red X. It's a big fat no. So, you know what? The past is in the past and you don't need to like beat yourself up about it. But 8 years is a very long time. And usually your grid is also just a representation of what you're spending your time on. So look at it that way. Is he not spending his time with you? If he's spending
everyone else on the grid, like, listen, some people use our social media purely for business, right? Like they own a gym and they're doing their workouts on there. Like, that's fine. That's a different thing. But if you know, Joe is on there and Brad's on there and, you know, everyone's on there except you, yes, it's a red flag. And we're talking this whole episode about, some of this episode about being able to show up. And I think what's super charming about Travis, not to go back to Travis and Taylor, but we may have to, is that it's like that public declaration is adorable. And it looks like those two people are in it. And you want to, I think it's publicly, if he's posting about being in it with his friends and doing other things or she is, and yeah, big red flag. Yep. Sorry, guys.
Yep.
If you disagree, let us know. If you disagree, we want to hear from you and tell us why.
Yep. Okay, call it crew. What are we going to call this? I think we're going to call this
The
end of the episode.
End of the episode.